The live stream has started and the meeting is being recorded, so we are ready to begin the meeting.
Thank you. I was on a personnel committee meeting where it was explained to me how we were changing our methods. It might be helpful to share with this group the way we're changing our methods for recording and live streaming. Can someone describe that for the members of the Finance Committee?
Sure, Madam Chair, I can. As a result of what happened at last month's board meeting, I know we don't have public speaking at the committee meetings, but we wanted some consistency. So we're going to be live streaming the board meeting so anyone from the public could watch it in real time. And we will only be giving out the passcodes for the meeting to those who are attending. And the reason we're doing this is to avoid what happened the last time with what I'm going to call the Zoom bomber, if you will. But it still gives people the right to view the meeting, and at the board meeting, there will be public speaking.
So we're being live streamed right now, which is interesting.
Yes.
Okay, just wanted everyone to be aware. So I think we begin with a roll call vote. Roll call attendance.
Yes. Jerry Abrahams.
Present.
Phil DeFronzo. Timothy Hodges.
Here.
Kathy McKinnon.
Here.
Commissioner Perez.
I'm here.
Franklin Perry.
Present.
Chelsea Ross.
Here.
Sarah Sanders.
Here.
We do have a quorum in attendance for the meeting.
And I have a question about the new policy, if I may ask.
Of course.
Which I'm fine with in general, but I was curious. If we're only going to give the code to the people that are going to be present in the meeting, how would the general public be able to speak if they wanted to speak? Do they have to pre-register? How would the general public know that, they have to get a code or something like that?
That's a great question, Commissioner. It is on the agenda that anybody who wishes to speak has to contact Dawn no later than 9 a.m. this morning, and Dawn will send them the code to join the meeting. Even if they ask us to join at 9:45, 9:55, we're still going to accommodate them.
Okay, because that was my next question. What happens if you're listening and doing a public portion and something comes up that for whatever reason motivates you to speak, because I'm all for the security, and what happened last time, I hope it never happens again. But we have to balance, the protection along with the access, the public access.
Yes, Commissioner, they will have the chance to speak even if they, during the public speaking portion. So that's still intact.
No, it's fine. You're telling me they will have it. There's a system in place, and that's fine. I just wanted to double check.
Yes.
Is there a call-in option too?
Well, Dawn will give them the code to join the meeting.
Okay, so it doesn't matter if it's via just telephone or via video. They would need a code to join the meeting.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, and they could do that up until the public speaking portion. I do want to say the board does not have to give the public the right to speak at the meeting, but we've always done that. And I know the board members want to continue that. So that's still intact. They will have the right to speak during the public speaking portion. They just have to let Dawn know before, 10 a.m. We put 9 a.m., but we're not going to limit people's right to speak if they wish to.
Hey, Terry, can I just ask, how did we come up with this policy? I think it's great that we, addressed it very, very quickly, but are there other agencies that are doing this as well, or how did we get here?
That's a great question, Tim. And yes, I looked at what other quasis are doing. And Connecticut Health Access has been doing this. And I also contacted one of the attorneys at the Freedom of Information Commission to go over this process. I spoke with her several times, and they're good with it. We thought this was the best option in terms of balancing, you know, the safety, if you will, and not having people just randomly join the meeting with very disruptive content, and preserving the public's right to speak during the public speaking portion.
Well, kudos to everybody who worked on this. It was, you know, it's quick turnaround. No, it wasn't probably easy, but appreciate the quick work on it.
Commissioner Perez, you have another question?
Yes, I mean, I just want to make sure, and I'm sure the answer is going to be yes to this, but are we going to have this policy in our website too, in case somebody ever wants to, you know, research how to get access to the public portion of the meeting?
Yes,
Yeah, if someone wants to research CHFA and know how to be able to speak or communicate with the board or committee or whatever, it would say, you know, you need to call before, you know, 9 o'clock on the meeting, on the day of the meeting, to get a code.
Yeah, great question, Commissioner. These notice of meeting and agenda, they are posted on the website, but I could ask our IT folks to even put it in a more prominent place. Just
Right, because I want to balance the two, right? I want to
Yes.
balance the safety and so forth. But I mean, the average resident, consumer, whatever you want to call it, you know, wants to communicate with us for good reason, not because, you know, and we don't want to overdo it so much that we lose data, you know?
Yes.
Well, we do want to prevent what happened last meeting, you know, but I just don't want to lose the ability of the public, because we are a public entity, and as a public entity, I will argue whether or not we could prevent people for you know, for being able to have a public portion to talk to the group, but I don't want to go there, you know.
Commissioner, we recognize the importance of having the public participate. I don't think they're going to be harmed in any way, but I love your idea of putting this in a more prominent position on our website, so I could talk to our IT folks after.
Yeah, and again, I'm not saying that we're trying to harm people, but sometimes unintentionally we
Yes.
do things, right? You know, and that's why I'm saying the more that the policy is well known, and places where people are more likely going to go look for it, which will be in our website, right?
Yes.
And I appreciate your understanding and your willingness to think, you know, to consider other ideas.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I do want to just stress, if I didn't, that this is on the website, but I hear you, what you're saying, that sometimes it might be hard to find certain things on website. So we'll make sure it's in a prominent position.
Hey, Terry, last thing, I don't want to prolong this, but I am curious. I mean, I don't actually know how many people from the public attend each week, and I know that you've tried to make it easier. I wonder if you've actually looked at the impact on Dawn, particularly if you're talking about, you know, you said, you know, people could try to sign up at like 9:45. Do we have any? I mean, Dawn does a lot, so
Yes.
any sense of what the impact is going to be on her? I mean, can she actually manage this if there are, you know, 50 people who are asking for access at 9:45?
I don't want to speak for Dawn. Dawn, are you on?
I'm here. Thank you, Tim, for that recognition. We have a really great team. I happen to be the voice or the face of that team, but we have several people who actually help with all of the other technical details in the background. And so we have, of course, accommodated to make sure that we can manage that piece. Yes, thank you.
Perfect, thanks.
One more question. So I see on my screen, it says YouTube. So we're being live streamed on YouTube right now. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And I'm curious, because often we have a lot of guests, you know, outside vendors. Are they viewing us on live on YouTube, or are they? I don't see as many participants on the call as we, you know, all the vendors that like to dial in. Are they watching us on YouTube? I'm just curious.
Yes, that's the answer.
That's that's nice, I think. Instead of having so many participants right in the meeting to have them view it as they would like to, that's great. Okay, that's a nice side piece too. Okay, let's go to our agenda. We have two standard reports and then a discussion on the interaction of our internal and external auditing functions, which I think was something I kind of asked for to better understand that from Joyce. So let's begin with our financial report from Allison Murphy.
Good morning. Before you are the financial reports for the first month of the year. On the revenue side, mortgage loan and investment interest revenue are coming in slightly above budget for the month and 2.6 million higher than last year. The year-over-year revenue variances are being driven by the increase in interest rates on the authority's short-term investments. On the expense side, bond interest expense is slightly above budget for the month and 2.2 million higher than last year. The authority's outstanding bonds as of January 31st are actually 245 million higher than the same time last year. Servicer fees are 1.7 million above budget for the month and 1.6 million higher than prior year. The increase in single family production is the main driver for this variance. Administrative expenses are coming in 430,000 under budget and 253,000 higher than last year. When you exclude salaries and benefits of 2.7 million, the current year expenses are 56,000 higher than prior year. Bond issuance costs are 407,000 below budget. Our first bond sale of the year is scheduled to close next month. We expect to recognize the majority of the issuance costs associated with that bond sale at that time. And lastly, excuse me, the change in net position at month end was $1.3 million. Is there any questions?
So am I reading this correctly that our bottom line is we're behind our change in net position by quite a bit?
No,
No?
Not-
Okay,
not quite a bit. It's just on 312,000.
okay. We're usually ahead of our budget, aren't we?
Yeah, a lot of that's timing too. We're pretty much, look at last year, we were 2.4 million, so we're about $1 million behind last year. But a big part of that is interest.
Mhm. Any questions on Allison's report? Okay, let's move to the production and delinquency reports from John Chilson.
Good morning. For the month of January, authority purchased 372 loans totaling $89 million, of which 351 loans totaling just under $84 million were securitized, or 94% of our volume. And then the remaining 21 loans totaling $5.4 million were whole loans. Just to share a little inside baseball, we count our MBS loans as purchased when they are pooled and securitized, and we receive the investment certificates. But in January, we actually funded 491 loans, which ties our July 1997 record for the most loans funded in a single month. The average loan size is just under $240,000, and again, with such strong production, our mortgage-backed security balance increased over December by $73 million to $2.7 billion. The whole loan portfolio continues to show a modest decline with 29 loans to $2.2 million, ending with a portfolio balance of $1.1 billion. Our single-family delinquency rate remains very low. It increased 9 basis points, but it's still below 1.5 percentage points. And the carrying balance of loans and foreclosures also remain very low. They decreased $9.7 million year over year to $11 million. And the number of loans year over year declined by 85. And the theme of the strong production carries through with our down payment assistance funding as well, and our time to own. There were 384 down payment assistance loans funded in January, totaling $6.4 million, average loan size at just under 17,000. And the time to own, there were 300 loans funded, $9.7 million, with an average loan size of $32,000. On our multifamily side, there were no new loan closes in January. The portfolio ended January at 582 loans at $1.3 billion. Our permanent loan delinquencies were 7, and there were no construction loan delinquencies. And our overall delinquency rate in multifamily was under a 0.5 percentage point. Any questions?
Congratulations on the production target. I think that's interesting because I keep hearing so much about a lack of product to buy. Can you elaborate a little bit on, or do where these loans are happening, or give a little more background on the type of product that people are buying?
I would speculate that it's our particular market is the first time home buyer, and with the products that we're offering, the down payment assistance and the time to own loan has been a big influencer in driving those production numbers. It's just making it possible for a lot of people to afford a home that otherwise, without the down payment assistance and the time to own, would be able to afford.
Commissioner
Thank you.
Brack?
I'm not a real estate broker, but I will agree totally with what you stated, because I'm hearing it from the bankers, and there's been more interest from the bankers to participate and learn more about CHFA and partner with them because of the prices of the homes, and somehow they need to get the prices down. And once you combine the higher interest rate, and the way to do that is through like the different programs that the state has come out with, whether it's the down payment assistance or that, whatever we call that, Own Now, Connecticut Own Now, whatever that program is, that you could get up to $50,000 in assistance in buying a house if you're a first-time home buyer. So I would totally agree that that's probably the main reason. And this has been my second round as being a member of CHFA, and I've now been 9 years in a row. Prior to that, I was another 6 years. And it has happened that both times we had a housing, or for this time that there was not a crisis because housing costed. This time something else costed, but last time was a housing crisis. And again, when rates started going up and the market tightened, our numbers go up, based on my past experience as a member.
Any other questions for John? Let's move to Joyce to talk about the internal and external auditor functions, and how they interface.
Good morning. So I'm here to talk to you today about how we coordinate with internal and the state auditors. So, it generally depends on the group, but during their planning phases when they come in, we provide our various documents to them. So we will provide our audit plan, our audit results, and our audit reports. For the external auditors, we also provide them with various documents from the loan servicers. So some of our larger loan servicers do documents called SOX, which is a system of and organizational controls report. It's an auditor to auditor communication between the controls over the financial data processing and information technology within this servicer organization. We also may provide them with what's called a USAP, which is a compliance with minimum servicing standards for mortgage bankers. So some of our organizations do those as well. And then lastly, we would provide them with our servicing reports. During the engagement, when they come in for field work, we would meet with them. We meet with them periodically and discuss any various concerns they have, the types of audit activity that we have performed, and then we also may participate in their fraud risk inquiries. So that's the information that we provide to the external groups. In terms of what we do with their information, we review all the internal reports and discuss any concerns that we may have with management and make a determination as to whether we need to modify the audit plan based on those reviews. As an aside, I also read all of the state audit reports that are issued and just see if there's anything in there that I think that management may be interested in, or there's a potential area of concern that I want to get out ahead of. And so I would then forward that document to management for information. So our goal is to align our audit work with the strategic objectives of the authority, and to correct any control deficiencies that we may identify before an external review. I would say that all three groups follow a similar methodology, but we may have different areas of focus. So just as an example, so what we do in internal audit is that we will review controls over the business processes all the way up through and including the trial balance of the authority. We start at a high level, and then we risk rate down to an audit level and then an objective level. So in that process, we would review controls over the business processes relating to operational risks. And that may include a manual structure or an automated structure, in which case we would look at the application level controls. And also in that process, we may look for connectivity between the processes to make sure that things are flowing from one process to another or one department to another. The second area we look at is reporting. So there's two types of reporting facets that we look at. One is financial reporting and the other is non-financial reporting or management reporting. So in the financial area, we look at things like receipts and disbursement processing, review of journal entries, and for all business transactions that are under review, as well as reconciliations between any general ledger accounts to subsidiary ledgers. And then the last category we focus on is compliance. This is compliance with any document that or governing statement that the authority must comply with. So it could be the act, the procedures, any federal and state laws or regulations. So as I mentioned, we're looking for controls through the business processes up through and including the trial balance. If those controls are functioning as intended, that would ensure an accurate and complete trial balance, and all the transactions therein are properly authorized by management. At that point with the trial balance, management then creates the authority's financial statements. So it's management's responsibility to create the financials. Then the external auditors come in annually, and they're here to provide an audit opinion on the financial statements. So they are, again, as they mentioned to you last month, they're looking at, again, a top-down risk-based approach similar to ours. They are doing a lot of substantive testing on the account balances, but what they include is also an outside confirmation where necessary, for example, in the area of investments. In that process, they're also looking at internal controls over financial reporting. So in addition to the financial statements, the external auditors are also looking at the state and federal single audits, and they're preparing those as well. So in those reviews, they're looking at certain state and federal grant monies that come to the authority, and their audit objectives would follow the standards of the governing body. We may look at some of those as well, but you're just getting perhaps different populations, audit populations in terms of testing. So for example, that may include TTO, My Home CT, and those types of programs. The state auditors come in every other year, and their primary focus is on state laws and regulations. They look for compliance with the authority's policies, procedures, bylaws, as examples. They also may look at internal controls over financial and management, certain financial and management functions. So those are the three groups. That's an overview of what each group does. I will say that each of these groups' reviews are designed to provide the board with a level of assurance in relation to your role as, you know, a governing body over the authority. And just lastly, I just want to mention that, you know, throughout the year, we do create the audit plan. We work extensively with management to come up with the audit plan. But if at any point in time, anyone on the committee would like us to add something to the audit plan, we would be I'd be very open to doing that as well. So it is a fluid plan, and I'd be happy to incorporate any of your feedback throughout the period. So with that, sir, I open up to any questions.
Does CHFA also have federal auditors that come in from federal agencies to look at us?
Occasionally, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Occasionally.
The audit reviews are coordinated through finance.
Okay. And a couple of the areas you mentioned sound like they might have an overlap, like compliance between the state auditors and between what you do. When you develop your audit plan, you're obviously being cognizant not to duplicate efforts of the state and external auditors, correct?
That would be correct.
Yeah.
You know, they have similar but very different roles. You know, the external auditors are looking at it from an independent standpoint. Their really main focus is the financial statements and internal controls. So Joyce's, her reviews are a lot more granular and program and process specific. So there tends not to be that much overlap. Like Joyce isn't going to re-audit our financial statements.
Right.
She's going to rely on external auditors.
Do the external auditors rely on Joyce's work?
Well, they certainly consult with her and would look at anything that she might have put in her report that, you know, is of concern. So
they may do additional, thank you, Alyssa. They may do some additional substantive testing if they're seeing something that they may view as a weakness in internal controls. They would increase their substantive testing. So it would be used as an input into their audit plan.
Commissioner Press, you have a question?
You kind of touched on one of my questions, Sarah, about, you know, relying on the staff on our internal audit. And I don't want to assume that I know the answer because I haven't been an auditor now in good 20 years, even though I've been an examiner for the last 10 years, which is similar but not the same because we look at different things. I would imagine, because, you know, I know this happens at the Department of Banking, at least with the state auditors. And I imagine that the public auditors would do the same thing, meet with senior management, in particular you, our internal audit person, and ask if there's any issues or any concerns that you know of that you need to bring to their attention. Is that correct?
Yes,
for sure.
I'm sorry, you broke out.
Yes, that is correct.
Right. And if you were to highlight something, they will review it, and they may choose, you know, depending on the findings and the detail, to actually look at the whole item completely from scratch, or simply review, and if they're satisfied, they say fine and move on. Is that my understanding correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And also, our employees are also, at least I know I have to put out a policy. I put a policy every year on DOB about our employees that if they feel something is going wrong, then they could call the state auditors. We don't have external auditors, but if we had them, so that's another way that communication could happen, and employees would feel something is going wrong, which, by the way, it does get abused from time to time. Can you know, call an independent entity and make them aware of an issue from their perspective. Do we do that in CHFA too?
Yeah, we do, Commissioner.
Okay. I mean, I like I say, I thought I knew the answer, but I just wanted, confirm it, verify it. And I'm doing this more for the benefit of those people who are part of the committee who are not familiar with the state process, as for instance, Sarah, myself, and other commissioners who are members of the committee, or other people who are somehow work for the state or directly involved with the state. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Commissioner. That's very helpful to me.
Any other questions on the interactions of the different audit groups? Okay, our next item is approval of the minutes. The Finance and Audit Committee meeting, January 31st, 2024. And we're going to use our new verbal vote system. May I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? The minutes are approved. Any other matters? If not, motion to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you.
Aye.
You.
Thank you.